I am well. I'm well. How about yourself, Billy?
Yeah. I'm tired as well. Coming to the end of the week, but the show must go on.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so this week, we have been looking at Iron Man 2. And we decided we're going to focus on a few topics, discuss Iron Man 2, so that we can try and pull some personal development insights out of
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
So if anybody's watching, wants to say hello to let us know you're there,
Please do.
yeah, please do get involved, ask any questions, share your own opinions or thoughts. But yeah, we'll continue. So shall we start by showing the first scene that I
Well,
actually wanted to ask you about?
yeah. So well, let's because we were doing Iron Man 2. So Iron Man 1, he has got a degree of self-discovery. He was told, just read these lines. No one needs to know you're Iron Man. You can carry on with your life. And then again, probably from an ego point of view,
Hmm.
the film of Iron Man 1 finishes off him looking at the camera, that scene. I am Iron Man. And then, so again, ego.
Yeah.
So Iron Man 2. Yeah, so let's
He's not the guy that can keep a secret
no,
identity.
especially one that um would reduce the amount of grandiosity that he had.
Mm,
you know,
mm,
I
mm.
imagine if Happy was Iron Man or somebody else, he would have been able to keep the secret. But because it's him, he's like, no.
Yeah.
I need everybody to know.
I need the spotlight. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think you hit the nail on the head. He needs it.
Mm,
Which I think is a interesting place to be, because some people are comfortable with it, but he definitely needs it. At the very least, where he is now, he needs it. Again, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. So
yeah.
we'll talk
It's
about
the
that.
thought of someone else taking credit, well,
Yeah,
someone else being better than him,
yeah.
and him having to sort of say, accept that. He can't accept
Yeah.
that. Um,
Even though it is him, and he would know. He just needs everybody else to know what's happening.
yeah.
Yeah,
So he's carrying that same grandiosity into
yeah,
the second film, isn't he?
absolutely.
So let's have a look here.
Yeah,
So this is the thing that he can't be handed things.
I don't know
So
what
I
that
went,
means.
okay, because I wanted to check that with you, whether you knew.
No, I don't know where it comes, but it's a theme that I don't know whether it's a thing that RDJ just did, because I don't necessarily remember it in any of the comics I've read. But yeah,
Okay.
this version of Iron Man doesn't like to be handed things, and he is either secure enough or arrogant enough or whatever to let people know, no, I'm not going to do that. And everybody else in his life capitulates to allow that idiosyncrasy.
Mm,
So Happy to take it off him. And there's another. I think it's actually in the Avengers film where Fury is handing him the folder, and Pepper takes it from him because he doesn't like it. So like,
yeah.
it's one of those things. When you're great and you're successful and you're high achieving, people around you will put up with and or facilitate your idiosyncrasies, and maybe nobody will tell you, dude, this is just pick it up.
Mm,
Especially if they work for you. You do wonder how much insight could he have had, because everybody else in his life kind of works for him. There isn't really
mm,
anybody who doesn't need something for him, whether it's a friendship or paycheck or whatever. You get glimpses of it with his relationship with Rhodey, because again, Rhodey is successful in his own right. But again, Rhodey is sometimes a bit of an enabler.
yeah, he does let him get away with a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think like this specifically, it's never really explained, so
Yeah,
it's just a bit random.
yeah.
Um, okay, let me just show the next one then. So the story moves on because that's him being given the court order
Yeah.
to come in and basically defend his suit. and they are accusing him of like having this weapon of mass destruction and it not being, under control.
Mm.
So he then kind of responds to this by saying, "Look, no one else has got this. Like, I've privatized world peace.
Yeah.
I am amazing. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
should be
yeah.
thanking me, basically."
But
So
again,
this is
the arrogance and ego of you're in the supreme, the Senate or wherever this. These are really important people. But okay, so I'm just gonna hack their stuff. I'm
yeah,
going to show the pictures, and I'm not even taking it seriously enough to be somber. You know,
mm,
because I think there's a concept of people who feel that they need to speak truth to power and all that kind of stuff, and I get that, but there is a way to conduct oneself when you're in official um, arenas, whether you're quote right or wrong. And
mhm.
he was very um, what's the word I'm looking for? Disrespectful,
Disrespectful.
disrespectful, but also I can't remember what the word is, but yeah, disrespectful. He's not even necessarily interested in the fact that wow, this is an official thing. He treats it like he would do a conversation with a friend
Yeah.
who they were disagreeing with. No,
But I
again,
think he's also like gets off on winding up the
yeah,
judge guy as
yeah,
well,
yeah,
and also Hammer, who is the other like
the expert
weapons
witness. Yeah,
manufacturer. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So yeah, it's quite funny, but it's part of his arrogant personality and
yeah.
just thinking that I'm right and everyone else is wrong.
But
So
just like you say, he gets off on it. So like again, there are people that we're going to talk to in the coaching sense and whatever, and just like Tony Stark, they're a contrarian, and there is some, I don't know, power to that, because it's like, yeah, man, I don't care.
probably.
Yeah, I don't care what people say and whatever, but I don't foundation of it is coming from a good place, because
Mm,
you can get your message across. You don't have to be a jerk. You don't have to be disagreeable. You don't have to be, I don't know, contrarian in this sense, and annoy everybody around you, whether you're right or wrong. And again, I suppose it depends on, the kind of relationships you want and what you want out of life. But like you said, he seems to get off on it. He's very it's a game. All of this is a game to him, because he
mm,
doesn't seem to have any sort of appreciation of the potential risk or of consequence, either because he's a billionaire and he has really good lawyers, or because he is actually Iron Man. And if anybody came with weapons, you know, he could defend himself. I liken it to when I'm speaking to resident doctors about like their relationship with other people on the ward. Like, it's possible to have a conversation with your nursing colleagues or the HCAs or the pharmacist and be right from a clinical point of view, but lose them because of your approach.
mm,
There's wards I've worked on where the nurses hated me. I don't mean that as a euphemism. I mean, they actually hated me when I was a much younger doctor, because in my mindset, I think my motivation was patient care, but I don't think necessarily I had an understanding of, okay, that you get more with a smile, than with a harsh word. I was at the time the kind of person, if I prescribed 3 days of antibiotics 3 times a day and the patient only got, I don't know, 2 doses, I'm like, someone's got to explain that to me. Now that's right in that
mm,
this is somebody's um somebody's family member and stuff like that. But I think I've learned subsequently that to apply more grace in the context of other people making mistakes, because it doesn't necessarily help team working if you're a tyrant.
yeah, 100%. Let's get through this next one. So he's in court there, And then the story takes a turn because he realizes that he has a problem that he doesn't have a solution for,
Yep.
in that he's getting this palladium. Is it palladium?
Yeah.
Toxicity? So that's what's in his core, that powers his keeps him alive, basically. Um, so the element palladium is causing this toxicity, which he realizes is eventually going to kill him.
Yeah.
And what follows is, I've got a few other scenes here, but it's basically about how he deals with the fact that he thinks he's going to die, and
Yeah.
that's quite interesting to look into because it affects his life in multiple different areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, his relationship with Pepper is the first thing that I noticed. In that he obviously doesn't want to tell her. He doesn't tell her straight away when he knows. And I think a lot of people, struggle to show vulnerability and weakness.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've experienced myself. In that I think when we're ill and vulnerable and we know that there's nothing that can be done,
Yeah.
to make it better, part of it is not wanting to burden anyone else
Yeah.
with that,
Yeah.
kind of feeling of hopelessness. It's like, okay, I am, in a bad place, but that doesn't mean that anyone else has to be
Yeah.
in a bad place.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no,
Any other?
I hear what you're saying. I think you're right in that, and I think it's one of those things that, again, about perspective, and what we're focusing on, because you're absolutely right in that often we don't want to feel like we won't want to share the burden. And when I'm speaking to people like this, I often say, well, okay, now I 100% get it, but think about it. The people that are in your life that you love, they came to you with a problem that you couldn't solve. Um, wouldn't you appreciate the chance to be there for them, even if there's nothing you could do? And I think those of us who are problem solvers, find this a difficult concept, because, especially, let's say, in medicine is pattern recognition and then act, pattern recognition and then act. I see and then I do, and sometimes it's difficult because the right thing to do, because there isn't anything you can do. But yeah, when I'm speaking to people, I'm always like, well, why is it fair for you to want your friends to come and burden you when they have an issue? Like, why are you stronger than them, or why are they more important than you? If you would want your friend to come and speak to you about it, well, then just reverse it and then call them, because I'm sure there are people in your life who, even if there's nothing that they can do, would appreciate the fact that you were vulnerable enough to share it. And actually, there's lots of benefit we get from just talking to people and just saying, this is where I am, whether you get a solution from it at all. And I'm back to the original point you said about so he thinks he's going to die in the Palladium. So there's two issues. So obviously he's decided not to be vulnerable and not to talk. But what do you think? Like, does he actually have many friends? This is the consequence of arrogance and ego. He's now in a situation where maybe he doesn't have a big circle of people he can turn to and say, "Oh, this is where I am," because of the way reality is a bit like or Marmite, So it's consider, if you recognize yourself in Tony Stark's self-centeredness and ego, maybe course correcting, because life is gonna life, and you may end up in a situation where it would be nice to have a friend, and you may have maneuvered yourself away from them.
Yeah, and it's about real friendship and real relationships, because those ones where, for Tony, literally putting himself up on a pedestal and appearing like this god to everyone in
Yeah,
his life means that when he does actually, have real problems,
yeah,
he's not able to be authentic because he's not used to showing
yeah,
anything but greatness.
yeah,
So that it leads to a lot of self-destructive
yeah.
problems. Which, let's see, what's the next one?
Well, while we're on that, can I just ask you, if you go back to the thing we're talking about, friends, what would you say your definition of friends or even a good friend is?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to really knowing someone and feeling comfortable expressing your true self around that person so that you are authentic. There's nothing that you feel you need to kind of hide from them because you're worried about judgment. That's a real friend. I think it's that trust that you can be vulnerable in terms of showing
Yeah,
your full personality with, and it's like, um, you know, even if you can just hang out with them and feel like you're at home.
yeah,
So it's like if you're in a group of people and you have a friend there, and then another few people who are just kind of like acquaintances or like not real, not fake friends,
yeah,
and then the fake friends leave and it's just you and your friend, you feel like, oh, okay, I can relax now, I can be
yeah, exactly.
myself.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like you don't need to like hide anything from them,
yeah, yeah.
the kind of like persona mask that you would wear with other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a few things. So I remember years ago, I heard a definition of a friend being somebody who you could call, let's say, at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're in trouble. And I think that's definitely true. And I heard very recently another definition of a real true friend. Let's say you were to win $100 million contract. Who could you actually call that would be happy for you? You know,
Mm,
and that for me is one of the definitions of a friend. Somebody who doesn't have any sort of competition or ego or something, so that when I am winning, I can call them and they can be genuinely happy with me. And the point you made about vulnerability, I think the people that I'm closest to now are the people that either we've had to fight for our relationship, so there's been disagreements and stuff, and we've had to work things out, or people who we've both shared a level of vulnerability, so they know me more than surface level. So no, I would agree. I would agree with 100% with what you said.
cool. Um, this is just a scene where I just threw in because I found it funny. How Tony's relationship with Hammer, which is like
Yeah,
his rival, in the weapons
yeah, yeah,
manufacturer, and just how like rude and arrogant he is around him. But also the effect that that has on Hammer, because he so desperately wants what Tony has. He wants to be him,
yeah,
and he wants to be able to. I think he takes it so well from Tony because he's
yeah,
just waiting on the day where he can one up him
yeah,
and give
yeah,
it all back. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like most people in that situation would just be like, I want nothing to do with this guy.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's arrogant, he's cocky, he's being rude to
But
me. He doesn't
he,
even want like to touch him.
Hammer is the definition of a frenemy, though, because
Yeah,
he's out around him. He's light and funny, and like you say, he takes the jabs. But exactly like at the end of the film, everything is a plot to one up. Not even necessarily in the context of just intellectually. He would
mm.
be happy for Tony to lose his life if that meant that
He wouldn't be sad.
he then got a contract. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and I mean, obviously, Tony's ego is gargantuan anyway. But when he thinks that he's gonna die, like he doesn't. This period of he doesn't even care who his actions affect. So they're in Monaco, right? And they're doing a
yeah,
Grand Prix.
yeah.
He owns a Formula One company, and somebody's trained for either weeks, months, days, or years to to drive the car, And Tony's like, no, I'll drive it. And you actually see in the film the driver gets really annoyed.
Yeah.
What can you do? Because the boss has said, okay, I'll drive. And again, not only is he not, so there's two things. He's not concerned about how his actions are affecting other people, but he's not even necessarily considering that this is a big risk. People die in Formula One races, but maybe because of essentially all of this stuff is playing chicken with death. For him, he's not too worried about it.
Yeah, so it's almost kind of like he wants to die.
Yes.
It's like his days are numbered, and he's just like YOLO, basically. I was
Yeah,
do
exactly.
whatever. So yeah, but like on that subject, sometimes in life, there are things that we might be afraid of doing that we actually need to do. And sometimes that kind of attitude of, you only have one life to live. What would you think, if you only had 6 months left to live? And what would you do? How would you act differently? Sometimes that kind of energy can be helpful to get you through obstacles. So just wanted to touch on that
I think
point.
there's two ways of looking at it. I remember listening to Diary of a CEO, and Stephen Bartlett was like, "Oh, live like today's your last day." That's actually terrible advice, because if you did, like, you wouldn't exercise, you you wouldn't plan anything. You would just, exactly what Tony's doing. It would actually be self-destructive. However, I do get the point that it's necessary for us to consider our own mortality. One day you are going to die. Let's get all the practicalities out of the way, life insurance and godparents, all that kind of stuff. But also, think about what you want the end to look like in terms of looking back at your life and the memories, that you built. Because people on their deathbed don't think about things that aren't important. A lot of them are thinking about the relationships that they've built and the memories and stuff. It's never about the amount of money that they made or the size of the company or the business. It's about the people that they love and who love them, and that's who they want on around them when it comes to the end. So I can't remember who it was said of, I think it might be Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn. He's like, start with the end in mind. And I think that applies as much to life as it does to a task. When you get to the end of your life, what do you want that to look like? And what relationships do you want? Who do you want reaching out to you? Who do you want there? Because that's not going to happen by accident. Those people that would be there, you're going to have to be building that relationship now. So those of us who are married, that's a reason to invest in our marriages and our relationships, so that when it comes to our end, our spouses aren't like celebrating. Whatever.
Yeah. I agree. I think there are lots of choices in life where we might be more inclined to go with the choice that gives us immediate comfort.
Yes.
But we really need to be thinking about long term and how those choices are going to impact in the future and how we're going to be remembered and the relationships. So yeah, using that energy to make choices that are going to benefit the greater good of our life and improve and grow us is a good philosophy, I think. Let's see what else we got. So Rhodey is involved now because this is kind of what I was talking about in terms of him being like, I don't have a solution for this, therefore nobody else can help me, therefore it's not worth burdening anyone. And Rhodey's basically saying your point about we can help you. You don't have to go through this by yourself. You're clearly going through something, and it's taking a heavy load on him. And Rhodey, as his friend, as I guess he's a real close friend, wants to carry that burden, and he can see that Tony is not letting him, so he's getting quite frustrated. Which actually even leads to a bit of a fight, well, a
Yeah,
massive fight between them as
yeah.
well.
It's interesting though, because so Tony's being a quintessential martyr, right? But there's a
Hmm.
way to understand it that, again, martyrdom is still about ego. It's still
Yeah.
about nobody else is strong enough to carry this with me. I'm not going to talk to you about it. It's all about me. Nobody else can help me. And people who are in that state may not necessarily realize that that's what they're doing, but actually that's
Mm,
what you're doing. It's
mm,
still about
mm,
ego and how strong you are, and you don't know how much easier your life might be if you go over yourself a little.
yeah, yeah. Well, this I can't think about martyrdom without thinking about doctors,
Yeah,
in terms of all of the stuff that we have to go through because we're identifying with this, this job really that
yeah,
says that self-sacrifice and just working yourself silly is valuable,
yeah,
and it is a bit about ego in the fact that your ego is identified with that, and it's very difficult for people who want to change, are thinking about changing career from medicine, to
yeah,
kind of leave that and realize what's actually going on here,
yeah,
and kind of appreciate that you sort of sacrificing your own health isn't really helping anyone,
mm,
um, long term. And it's
yeah,
again thinking about the future, like how is it going to impact you in the future?
yeah,
It's all about that kind of like immediate recognition. I am the savior. I'm
yeah,
I'm putting everyone else before
yeah,
me. But
yeah,
yeah, I feel like um, it's freeing to be able to ask for help and
yeah,
allow
yeah,
others to share the burden,
yeah,
because sometimes coming out of that state of negativity can only be achieved through being able to talk freely about what's going
yeah,
on,
absolutely.
with someone that you trust.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we could do better in the health service about being honest about. So I take your point 100%. I think that kind of mindset is of all burnout, and sometimes it's perspective and everything that gives you the short half life of I can't do this anymore, and so and having and it's the incumbent on those of us who have a bit more grey in our beards and in our hair to maybe speak to our younger colleagues and say, so for instance, sometimes I might say on the ward run, "Have you had lunch?" Well, I'll say no, go and have lunch. I
Mm,
remember as a medical student on a firm, and I was doing all this, and the consultant who there, look, come to
oh,
the ground
you're
was a place where I was going to go to gain information to be able to do my job better. And he basically gave me some advice, and which I won't say exactly what he said, but essentially he was talking about when it comes to healthcare, there's infinite need and finite resource, and you are a resource. So if you just continue to expend energy thinking that in doing that I am reducing the need, you're just fooling yourself, because the need is infinite. So you have to protect yourself and take your breaks and have lunch and go for teaching and do all that kind of stuff. Because if you don't do that, the need will still be there whether you do it or not. But you're going to be a
mm,
less version of yourself, less able to help, less pleasant to work with, and all these kind of stuff, and increase the risk of burnout. And not because of, I mean, this might sound controversial, not necessarily because of the actual work, but because of your approach to it, given not understanding the difference between something that has a finite need,
mm.
has an infinite need. That's just a perspective thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. I think it's when you think about it from a point of view of responsibility,
Yeah,
um, you're own life is also part of the responsibility that you have in order to be able to care for other people, isn't it? So we're coming up to 30 minutes. If there is anyone who has any thoughts or comments they'd like to share, or just say hello, say it now or forever hold your peace. We got any? Do you want to do one more scene?
I will do one more.
One more. Let me just.
This is here we go. Around the film. So during this scene, he realizes who Natasha Romanoff is, and Fury basically comes and speaks to him, and they hit him with something, which reduces the effects that played in. And again, it was such a powerful turn of phrase in victim mindset versus empower. Somebody injects him and he's like, oh, what? And then Nick Fury, what did I just do for you? And because the same thing happened, he doesn't even realize that possibility that they could be there to help him, or that, like you say, that they even had anything to offer, because he's so arrogant that he has the answers. So, but I love that play on words, because if you can do that in your life, from a perspective I have to do versus all the things I get to do, what is somebody doing to me rather than for me, it can really change your ability to be in the situation might be challenging and deal.
Okay. Yeah. I think we'll just sort of come to a close on that. That's a good point to end on, because I think your connection's a bit choppy, just whilst you were saying that last bit. So yeah, definitely. It's all about what you get to do rather than what you have to do. Gratitude for, just being able to live life. All right. So once again, thanks everyone for joining us.
Absolutely.
We'll be on YouTube as well. So if you want to check out any of the episodes there, you can go on YouTube, and we'll put our LinkedIn profiles and social media in the description if you want to follow along.
If you're watching on YouTube, please like, please subscribe, please share. It helps the algorithm and helps us get this message out to more people. If it's something that you're enjoying, please comment, because all of that stuff really helps the channel to grow. We really appreciate your time.
All right, see you all next week.